Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party. I can't have my buddy Rhett out here because my daughter-in-law, um, and this happens every day. She brought her dogs Pebbles and Roxy over, and I'm just not sure if it's a good idea to take her out of her cage today. Um, Roxy is like this cute little black, kind of wiry little dog, and she fights with Rhett all the time. Like Rhett tries to bite her through the cage, and Roxy tries to paw her. So and they both are just having a fantastic time. But it is difficult to tell if they're really playing or not. It seems like they're playing. They're both definitely much happier afterwards. So it's one of those things. So yesterday, I sort of had gotten to a pretty good place to do do a commit, but on this application, I want to do I want to have end-to-end testing and you you unit tests, and I want to have like 100% coverage and all that. And right now, we actually like kind of the way it's coded. I guess what happens, and this is kind of the one of the benefits of doing this in super slow motion is I can kind of think through like just small issues. But I was like genuinely surprised when I still had 100% coverage. But the thing is, it's because when the application gets built out, it executes the code that's in there. So the unit tests that runs for the application also ends up inadvertently running as a side effect, running the new service to do the animations, which is pretty cool. But the problem is that is not how the that's not it's not going to work that way, right? Like in the future, what will happen is, the application will come up and there'll be like a button, and you push the button, and then the button will render a component, and the component will have a Three.js in it. So we won't get 100%. So then we'll suddenly lose our coverage. Um, so that's why I think it makes sense. And so that kind of got me thinking about like, oh, well, so that's why it makes sense for the service to have its own unit tests, even though you still have 100% and all that. And that I think that is one of sort of the. I remember this being an issue at one of the places where I worked, where I believe we had to have 85% unit test coverage, and like you'd write some code, make some kind of change, and suddenly you would have like lose all your unit tests, and it's like maybe something wasn't just automatically being built the way it was before. So, but then what would happen is you'd end up finding yourself trying to write unit tests for code that you didn't understand at all, like for somebody else's code, because it used to get called. Um, and that's just so that you can get your application through. And that was always another thing is, like whoever is doing the PR is just like, why are you writing all this code that's not even anywhere near your code? And it's like, well, because I don't have unit test coverage because of this change. And they'd be like, I don't explain to me. And then you're trying to figure out why. So, anyways, I think that 100%, unfortunately, that coverage is can be sort of misleading. So that's something that I never really, I could never really understand. I could never really understand like when I was working there and I was in the fog of war and we're going at 90 miles an hour. Could never really understand why suddenly some change that didn't seem to mean anything would have didn't seem to affect anything would have these massive effects on other pieces of the code. So yeah, that's that. Um, but anyways, there's that. Now, I've worked at a lot of places, and I've done a lot of interviews. And one of the questions they almost always ask at every interview is like, why? Why use Angular? And if I'm being completely honest, you should use Angular. Like, if you build an application, you should use some framework that is committed to staying current, because like the browser is constantly changing. There's not right now as I talk into this computer, there is someone writing code for the browser that's going to make it different. Like it's never stops. The browser is always changing. And I'm gonna have to yell at this dog. I'm sorry. Oh, I think she took off. Um, and so it's not Angular's fault. Now it is a lot of it is Google's fault. Guys, stop it! Because Google is Chrome. Here's Roxy. She's our barker, and she's the one that fights with Rhett a lot. She's a little. I don't remember what kind of dog is. She's like a hybrid of two breeds. But anyways, date Pebbles. So yeah, this is the first time I ever tried to do one of Pebbles. No, this is the first time I ever tried to do one of these videos with these two dogs here. These two dogs do come to our house most weeks, 5 days a week, but at least Pebbles. She's destroying something, and she's way too big for me to pick up. She's a Staffordshire Terrier. But anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking about. These crazy dogs. Oh, so yeah, you don't like you. The browser is always changing, and Angular is always staying up with the latest browsers. Now, do they slide their other crap? Yeah, they do. But not only that, but the sort of stack of the minimum viable application stack is just always changing. It changes every single day. You can go and you could do an npm install, and there will be one of the hundreds of different libraries that has been modified. And so Angular keeps all that up to date, right? So you don't end up with some ancient version of an application. But all of that benefit is lost if, as an organization, you don't stay disciplined and you don't maintain your upgrades. If you don't, then you might as well, like, if it's just like if it's just like, what do I try to say? If it's just like you're just going to install Angular and then you're just going to build an application, and then 5 years from now you're still going to have that same version of Angular, then yeah, no, you're better off like doing something else, using, I don't know. I don't think you're better off doing vanilla JavaScript. You might be. The problem with, okay, so the main problem with vanilla JavaScript is what you're going to end up doing is building your own framework. That's really what you're going to end up doing. You're going to end up eventually building your own routing system or using some other routing system that you find. You're going to use and build all these different things, and you're going to come up with your own stack, and you're going to have that. And when you do that, it's going to be almost impossible for you to keep everything upgraded. And then the thing is so you're going to have your very unique stack that you built, and you're going to have to figure out how to train people to work on that stack. And you will find yourself where everybody used to find themselves back in like 2004, 2005, where you're like, oh yeah, when we hire a new developer, it takes them 6 months, a year to come up to speed before they can do anything, because they need to learn our framework. So if you have an Angular, Angular developers are expensive, but at least if they actually do know Angular, they will be able to understand it. Plus, there's tons of tutorials, and ChatGPT can help and stuff like that. If you build your own framework, ChatGPT probably can't help you. But that's that. I definitely think that if you're a professional organization and you want to build some software, you're going to want to do it in Angular. You're going to want to, as long as you're actively maintaining it, you want to could stay up with the latest upgrades. And once you cotton ball it and you decide, okay, at least now you will have a package file that has all the libraries at the time, and that is that. So I don't know. That's a lot. I know I'm kind of rambling on. We're already 10 minutes into this, but I'm sort of thinking through some stuff with my current employment situation. Um, I definitely have. I'm. I don't know. I just don't know what to think. Um, I definitely. So I have 3 kids, and my 3 kids, I definitely discourage them from becoming computer programmers. Um, and the main reason was because as a computer programmer, you don't really have a lot of control over your life. But whenever you aren't doing computer programming, I mean, like if you're doing something else, you can sort of level up into a different sort of where you have a lot more control. So I don't know that it makes sense to um, become. I don't think it makes sense. Like if you are in a situation where you are like you're growing up in a family and everyone's going to college and all that kind of thing, and you're going to get to like sort of like let's say the market's really low and when you're getting ready to graduate you could slow down and you could still live with mom and dad while things are slowed down, and then kind of enter the market when things are good and all that. Yeah, computer programming is probably not what you want to do. Now you want computer skills, you want to be able to program, but you probably don't want to be a computer programmer. Now, if you are like an immigrant and you're trying to come in from another country, you're trying to prove yourself, computer programming probably is a very good option because honestly, it's one of the few things in the United States where you will be judged on your own work. Whereas everything else it can be very political. You will be judged on your own work as a computer programmer, so you will be able to build stuff and then let your work speak for itself. Um, there aren't a lot of things like that in work like that in the professional, like as a professional sort of higher end paying sort of thing, so or if you're like maybe the first in your family to go to college and all that, and you're like you like doing puzzles and you're all that, it's probably one of the better jobs for someone like you where maybe you haven't learned all of the sort of social skills that come with those sort of other white collar jobs. So you can work in computer programming and that works pretty good. But honestly, like if you're in that privileged group of people where you're like you can kind of choose to go into whatever degree or whatever you want to do, I would definitely strongly say you should absolutely learn how to program. All my kids know how to program, and they all are doing better in their fields because they can know how to program. But I would strongly discourage you from becoming a computer programmer. Now, with that said, if you do choose to go to the computer programming route, I would 100% encourage you to focus more on either application development or back-end development. There's just a real problem in the industry of just thinking that front-end people are less than, just not as good, not as valuable. Most managers come from back end and then they help the other back end. And everyone just has this perception that back end people are smarter than front end people. And it's just not a good situation. So I would strongly suggest that if you are going to become a professional computer programmer, that you kind of maybe stay away from front end. Now, the major exception to that is like, let's say you have a business and you're small, or your family has a business. Being able to take care of their front end for them is incredibly useful. So that would be an exception. Like let's say you guys have a family business and you're going to be working in the business in the future, then front end would probably be a great place to go. Because you're in the family. Like they can't just be like, oh, he's stupid because you're in the family. You're a part of. You're one of the family kids. We call them. In our house, there's like family kids. We don't not, like we always refer to people in like let's say there's a business that someone owns. There's like the family kids, workers, right? And like they're gonna be at Thanksgiving. They're gonna be at these different things. So they do have an extra level of sort of benefit. So you don't really have to prove yourself if you are a family kid. So that would be if you're sharp and you like computers and you want to do computers and you're going to work in the family business, front end all the way. Do front end. It's so much like there's no application, there's no nothing that you ever want at front end. If you're doing it as a hobby, like something that you want to do for fun, front end. If you just because you could the thing is like if you let's say you build an executable application, well then you have to like send it, you have to compile it in the computer that they're going to use, and then you got to get that executable file to them, whether they go to an FTP and download it or whatever. And there's just all these issues. But if you build that same functionality in a JavaScript browser application, it's just that you just go to this URL and then you can use it. So for that kind of thing, definitely front end. If you're just like, oh, I'm going to college and I need to do some computer stuff, but that's not going to be my focus. Like let's say you're a medical doctor or something like that, or something where you're front end, like you're going to get way like back end would be absolutely almost useless to you. You can build everything you want to show stuff and to add behavior completely on the front end. And if you need any sort of back end, it since if you probably won't need anything too in depth, so front end. So again, if you're going in, if you are, unless you like really need to go into a profession where your work has to stand on its own, then I would definitely strongly dissuade you from going into computer programming. Like be a realtor, be an accountant, be a lawyer, be a salesperson. Oh my gosh, sales is probably like if you can build up sales skills at a young age, you'll be able to do whatever you want. Like you can do like if you can sell, there's a place for you. You'll have no problem finding a job. That kind of thing. But with all of those, knowing how to program is a huge benefit. So, but if you have to go into programming, or if programming makes a lot more sense to you because, for some reason you need your work to be able to speak for you, um, you know, that is one of the fields that is really like, there's probably the most sort of like meritocracy in sort of programming and stuff. So and all that. But if you have to do that and you're going to try to make a living at it and you want to like have a career, back end or executables or something like that is really where you want to be. You don't want to be on the front end just because like it's just I don't know, like if we were like it's like a lower caste in a caste. If you're in a caste environment where you're like, oh, these people are this caste and those people are those caste, like front end almost would be like, I think front end would be like the untouchables in like the Indian caste system. It just you just can't get any traction as a front end person. Um, but the exception to that is if you have your own business or something like that, then front end is like the way to be. Um, so that is that. So, but anyways, yeah, like I said, I apologize. I know this isn't super technical. I'm just in kind of a messed up place at the moment. Um, so I want to do an upgrade. I want to upgrade my code, and I'm hoping to get to, I don't know, yeah, something. It would be nice if I could wait till 19.2, but the thing is you have to be committed. You have to be in a committed state to do an upgrade. So this is just a really good time for me to do an upgrade. I would imagine 19.2 will be out shortly, but let's go ahead. I don't. I don't want the G though. I think I want this without the G. So G will install it on my machine. So I'm going to actually ask, um, do the first step without the -g flag, that it will be limited to my local, to the application. And obviously, all those things I was just talking about, purely my opinion. Okay. Okay. So basically, I don't think we need this save dev. I think it's gonna do that. Um, because it's already in the dev. I don't know. So okay. So what this save dev does, let's go to the package, is it puts it in this group. And see if you notice, so we have our dependencies and then we have our dev dependencies, and I believe it wants to upgrade this one. And and it is not. And so I think it's just going to automatically do that anyways. I'm actually very curious. So we are committed, so there's really no risk here, right? Like after we make a change, we'll see things in here and we can just undo it. So let's just do this and see if this shows up. And if this guy, well, let's just see what happens. I'm just super curious. Always amazes me how long this takes, but it's doing a lot. All right, so now it's made a change in here, and this will show us what the changes are. See, so it put them all in the dev dependencies anyways. I guess I was in 06 before, but now it's 1.4. And the main thing we're hoping for to get out of this is for these errors. Let's see, in here to go away. That's what I'm hoping. That's fingers crossed. I don't think I care to do that. Okay, so npx. So we, in a previous video, we actually went over, like, we asked about npx, and basically I guess that just means you don't have to have something installed in order to do it or something like that. I can't remember, but there was nothing too astounding about it. I mean, it seemed like there was a huge benefit, but nothing massive. Now, just so it wants that other thing to be clean first. Git commit -m step 1 of ng upgrade. And I'll always do this, git add. Now let's just take a peek in here. I always regret that, because there's just never anything of too much interest. But maybe I know more now. So magic string apparently is updating. And this is what I was kind of talking about before. It's just like magic string. Apparently a lot of people use magic string. And they did an upgrade in the last month. Now this is a much easier thing for me at the moment, because upgrade for me, because I don't have material installed yet. As soon as I get material installed, the complexity of these builds gets more intense. But that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to add it, and then I can just hit the up button and then git push. Well, let's not push that. It's a habit, bad habit. I mean, so the reason I don't want to do a push is because this may not work, and I want to be able to just undo these commits. Um, Before I was as comfortable with um, Angular as I am now, I would always put these in their own branch because I mean not Angular but Git, but I can just undo the last 2 commits or 3 commits or whatever. But anyways, we'll go on that. And we're update. But I really want to change careers. I would either like to change careers into QA. I think I would be an amazing QA. For literally for 20 years, I've been writing code and being like, oh, okay, how can I get I mean, I realize that's only one aspect of being a QA, but I think it is the most critical aspect is um, testing, actually testing. I do know that they do need to sort of figure out what it's supposed to do, and they need to communicate with and they need to sort of communicate up the line and stuff like that. And I think I'm pretty personable. I think I'll be able to do that. Apparently that's the last step. Oh, nice. So it's still working. But yeah, so I would like to do a QA. But the other thing I would like to do is go go to school to be a paralegal, and that's like a 4-month course and all that, and it would be a I don't know how big. It's not a huge pay cut for me because pay in software development has gone to crap over the last few years. So it really honestly would not be a big pay cut for me, shockingly. But I suspect that I think I would be really good at it. My son has described the job, and I think it's the kind of thing that just my sort of the way I like to do things, I would be very, very good at. But B, I suspect my programming skills would help me thrive in that position. So I'm probably going to. I'm desperately thinking about in February, which is just in a week, sign up for paralegal school. But I think I'm fed up with front end development as a profession. But this has taken a long time. There has been a change in my packages file, so let's see what that's all about. Yeah, so all of these are being upgraded now. Yeah, just to be clear, it's probably a good idea to just literally even shut down Visual Studio once this has succeeded and restart it and then restart the application. I can't even tell you how many times I've done upgrades thinking everything went great and then found out that no, once I restarted it, everything was broken. So yeah, doing the upgrade would probably be a good thing shutting everything down and restarting anything. I do need to shut everything down just so that I can see, there's a good chance that is it done? Oh, so now the package lock has changed. There's a good chance that these breakages will resolve themselves. Actually, look, oh no, I was like, it may already have. Took it a little bit, but they probably won't. Oh, so we are done. We are done building, so I'm going to kill this thing. I hope there's nothing weird behind. Nope. And then I'm going to restart it. I don't know. I would say 9 times out of 10, it doesn't hurt you at all. I mean, not restarting didn't hurt at all. But one time, the one time in 10 just will make your life miserable. So it's just worth restarting everything. Um, and then like in some there, I have worked on some computers where everything's just so locked down that it actually would make a lot of sense just to restart the whole computer, just do a complete restart. I'm very disappointed that these are back. So I would say that my hope that this would get resolved um, by doing an upload would is not going to work, but goes 4200. Interest. Oh, okay, it's still loading. Oh, looks like we are good to go on the application working. And so I think obviously, um, it's a good idea to run the Cypress end to end and just see if anything broke in there. Now I wouldn't expect like I wouldn't expect the like a test to go bad. Like I would expect the tests would still be good, but like it wouldn't surprise me 100%, especially because I don't, and mostly probably because I just don't have a lot of experience with Cypress. But it wouldn't surprise me if Cypress doesn't open, or if something's just broken. Um, Probably another thing that might have been a good idea to do, like if you're just being like hyper careful, is to delete the node modules and reinstall them. A lot of times, sometimes that you might have some stray node modules file in there. Let's see. Ooh, that's nice. It's nice once kind of things start to flow, like um, how this goes to it remembers its last size. So just those are kinds of things that after a while, like you've been doing, like when you work on stuff and it's just like everything just kind of goes to the right place and all that, and then you don't realize that that was ever a thing, and then like when you try to get started again, okay, so that is good, and that's no, I don't think anyone is surprised by that, or I surely am not surprised by that. npm run test, and this will run the unit tests. And to me, this actually used to be the whole point of unit tests. Like the reason I would always advocate for unit tests everywhere is because, like, when you did an upgrade, it used to be so hard to do an upgrade. You do an upgrade, and then like literally 3 years later, after the upgrade, you're still shaking out bugs. Like, oh, this weird in this giant app. You have these giant applications that do, and you find out that, oh yeah, no, nobody's been using that lookup for 2 years, and you're like, oh shit, that thing broke 2 years ago. So if you had the unit tests, like even if you only had like 30% test coverage, like you would find the pattern of things that were just broken. And 9 times out of 10, it was like some sort of like a like they changed the signature. So now, yeah, so that all works. And I don't think that's a surprise either. So let me go ahead and shut that down, and then add dot, and wrong one more. There. Step 2 of ng upgrade. Get status and get push. And I don't know. I do not know what that was all about. I'm guessing that had something to do with the unit tests. It just threw out like some console logs just out of nowhere. That was hilarious. Um, but looks like we are currently updated. Okay, so the last thing that you really should do, and I'm dead serious, and this is probably the most important step, is do an inspect and, and look that you're. So I thought we were going to NG 1.6, but apparently we were just going to the um, Angular CLI of 1.6, but this is 1.2. And so there's that. So sad face where this is still broken or this is still mistalking. Um, the next thing to do, I guess, is just to look through these extensions and see if we have one that can be updated. Lens just, I don't think there's that REST client and Thunder client. Yeah, so this does not seem to be coming from this. Let's just put this error in to the IDE. So this is always weird because, see, I kind of have this, and I think that is cool, but I would like a fresh chat. So I guess that's the way to do that. Okay, my IDE is showing this error. So there's the question. It's just like, okay, do I need to tell it that it's Visual Studio Code, or will it know? Man, that's no fun. Didn't give me the whole. So it gave me the actual thing that was in the actual test, or the expectation. I wonder, I cannot remember what the right words are. So if I hit this, I hit Control C. Okay. See if anything. Isn't correctly set. Okay. So I know that this must be installed already. So I'm just going to skip that one. And then if we do a search for compiler options, so we have it in 4 places, and they're saying it's my TS config. And we have 3 TS config files. One's a JSON and one's a spec. Okay, so let's go with the JSON. And then, so seriously, so it's kind of funny because I think this is like one of the major problems in software development is that you'll say, I want it to be in TS config, or I want something, and then it'll tell you something like check your TS config JSON. Basic assumption, there's one of them. Well, we have 3 of them. So this does not have a types. If types is not specified. Okay, so types is not specified. It'd be interesting to know if that is going to make it weirder, more weird in the future. So this one has a types, but it left off comma node. And I just can't, that doesn't seem like that would be the problem. But so now we are modifying two TS, a spec one, which I think is our major problem, maybe, I don't know, and then we have this app. And there's that. And now, I guess it's probably best to stop and start Visual Studio Code. Well, see, it keeps tricking me by it because I'm like, oh, look, I don't see it, but oh, so that does seem. I'm afraid, it's still loading stuff though, so. Okay, what is this? Nope, it's still broken. Update. Oh, so I had it. It's telling me manually import these things. Okay, let's go to karma.js. Don't look like I have. Oh. So I'm going to hit Control P. Control P. And then. So I don't have a karma.js. I don't have any of these. Confirm your test runner. I don't have a karma. Do I? I don't think I do. I'm pretty sure I would have found it. So maybe that is the problem, is that I don't have this karma conf. Okay. And I think this is also like another good thing is like, sometimes you just have some downtime, like when you're working on stuff. And this is um, Angular 19. You'll have some downtime, and then like you'll be able to um, and then it's always good to poke around with these sort of nagging issues. Okay, so we already have this. We already did this. Oh, but it was okay. So that it did actually specify to use this tsconfig spec. All right, let's just do this thing. I think it's maybe this is the problem. I don't think so, but because I think it was already in the package. Now that I think about it. Types Jasmine. Yeah, so we already had it. And then we already updated this. It's kind of funny though, because they told us to put Node in here, and then I put Node, but now it's saying just put Jasmine, and it did have Jasmine before. Restart the Angular CLI. It's kind of weird that. Okay, here's another Jasmine core types. Ooh, I don't see this Jasmine core types. And if I wasn't like in a completely fresh npm install at the moment, I would not feel comfortable doing this. I don't see how adding some types would ever hurt anything. I can see how this would help. Although it doesn't look like anything actually changed. So I got all these weird things. I don't know anyone who reads these things. Warning, bad engine. So test. You know, and it's kind of funny because I bet you at some point we will figure this out. We'll be like, oh, this is what's broken, and it's going to be so silly. So that did not, I don't think it changed anything, and that did not do this. Now, it's always very tempting, like when you do something like this and you're trying to fix stuff, to just commit it. I would definitely strongly say you should not do that. That you should only commit stuff that works. So that didn't work. I'm guessing once all this stuff loads up, although I would like to deal with this, because this thing, whatever this is, may be the issue. Okay. Turn off. No. Okay, that cracks me up. So I don't know. I clicked this thinking that what I was getting was was a suggestion in order to deal with this issue. But actually, what was happening was it was just one of the options. But I thought it was suggesting that, oh, you have an issue, we just go ahead and turn the extension off, which I think would be hilarious. And now my issue is gone. I think maybe I'll have to start it again to get that to show up. See if it gives me, like, is there a way? I guess maybe I want to do that manage choice. Oh, darn it. Something showed up under there. A project that was near the Angular license. All right, so let's go to manage extension. Strict templates is true. It is kind of funny because, like, a lot of places, like, they really want this, but they'll have like an older version, and then by default, when you do an upgrade, a lot of times it turns that off, and then they think that some developer did it on purpose. What are the more actions? So install. So we're gonna install a new one, and then we will see what happens here. Let's see. I wonder what time it is. So it's So I don't know. I think we uninstall, we reinstall it, we uninstalled it. It's on auto update. It doesn't look like anything got fixed for us. Don't know what to do. So we did make an effort at fixing whatever this annoyance is. We tried 3 things that ChatGPT told us. We added these types in here. None of them fixed it. So what I'm going to do is undo these, just because, like, it's really hard if you don't like what am I going to put in the commit? Like stuff that didn't work. And then like if you did put something that's a little misleading, you don't want to put stuff that didn't work cuz like you shouldn't be checking in stuff that didn't work. But if you were to put something misleading or something in there, you're going to really confuse everybody. So just don't commit it. I know it kind of seems like you should commit it because it seems like it's right now, but it didn't work. And in the future, when we do find a solution for this, that could cause confusion. I guess that's it for today. What's next? What's next? What's next? Kind of like I have some extra time on my hands, so I just don't know what to do with myself. And making these videos is really fun for me and very, very therapeutic. Next. What's next? I think the next thing is to create a new component and then render this in the component. And let's see, before we do that, I just want to make absolute sure that we don't have my most hated and dreaded something was generated before it generated that stupid error. It was kind of crazy because I ended up getting that error right at the end of my last video. We need to start this. In my last session, I had built this ThreeJS thing, and then like I did an upgrade and it just broke. And it broke because when I went from Angular 18 to Angular 19, the time that different things get built out changes. And so I had to change the event that the drawing happened in. And then when that event got changed, I ended up with that error in the compiler. It just drove me nuts. I never could fix it. And I tried went into my biggest, deepest bag of tricks. I could not figure out a fix for it. But that's gone, yeah. So the next thing is to create a new component, and that component will just house these. And then it would not surprise me if something weird breaks, but I don't think it will. I think it's going to be fine. We'll just do enough. But I have seen a lot of things like that break. I think that all it's going to do, like when we think through what it does, so like when this is all said and done in this app, when this is all said and done, there probably won't be any of this kind of code. Yeah, my guess is there won't be. But all it's going to do, I think, all this code is going to be gone. But the only thing the component's going to do is it's going to create a renderer and return a renderer ID or something. Somehow I'm going to set this up so that, but I think all that thing's going to do is create the renderer service and return an ID, and then over here there's a place inference where we do this, and it'll do this but for the component, and the component will probably be really little. It'll probably be like in here, and then hopefully at some point we can have a whole bunch of them side by side running. And that process is actually going to be a lot more like when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, it's going to be super simple. I'll just put it in a component. Done. But now that I think about it, actually, yeah, it's going to be pretty complicated. Definitely something that you can do in like a half hour if you were just like heads down, just coding away. But it's probably going to take a while for us in this format, the way I'm working on this now, where I sort of do a deep dive into what every little piece is doing. It'll probably take a good bit to actually get all of that into a component. And I guess that component will just get rendered automatically. But eventually, I probably want the little three little dots like this dots, but like to be here. And then you click it, and then one of your choices will be to like generate a new or create a new one. And then you can create a new one and another one, and then create a new one and another one shows up. And then, um, so we are just slowly but surely moving, grinding forward. The whole point of all of it is to really understand how things work and all of that. And that's what we're doing. Anyways, yeah. If you know anybody who wants to hire a QA person with my kind of skills, reach out. Happy coding. Bye.